Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today. When God gets ready to bless someone, He doesn't whisper it in a corner. He moves heaven and earth to make it happen. You may have been waiting, crying, praying, wondering if the storm would ever end. But when God is about to bless her life, the atmosphere shifts, doors begin to open, and even the attacks against her become confirmation that something great is on the horizon. There are signs, divine indicators that God is aligning everything for her breakthrough. And if you've been feeling the pressure, the isolation, and the stretching, it just might be because her blessing is closer than ever before. Sign 1, when everything starts shaking, but she's still standing, God will sometimes allow life to strip away what she no longer needs, relationships, habits, even opportunities, because He's preparing her for something higher. The shaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. Sign 2, when her prayers get bolder, she stops asking small prayers and starts praying prayers that scare her a little. She begins to believe for what seemed impossible before. That shift in faith is a sign that God is getting ready to release what she's been praying for. Sign 3, when people start misunderstanding her, sometimes God hides her next level from others because it's not for their approval. When they stop clapping, when they walk away, when she's misunderstood, that's when God is pulling her closer to Him and setting her apart for the blessing. Sign 4, when unexpected favor starts showing up. Opportunities she didn't even apply for, help she didn't ask for, doors she didn't even knock on. That's not coincidence. That's divine favor announcing that her season is about to change. Sign 5, when the enemy fights harder than ever, the devil doesn't fight what isn't a threat. If her life feels like it's under attack from every direction, that's a sign that hell is nervous about what heaven is about to release. When pressure means promotion is coming, the pressure is proof of the promise. Sign 6, when her heart starts to forgive, blessings flow best through a pure heart. If she feels God leading her to let go of grudges, bitterness, or pain, that's because He's clearing the pipeline so He can pour out blessings without blockage. Sign 7, when she feels stretched beyond comfort, growth always feels uncomfortable. When she is being stretched, it means God is increasing her capacity for what's coming next. The discomfort is just a sign that the blessing is bigger than she imagined. Sign 8, when the right people start entering her life, God sends destiny helpers before He releases destiny moments. The right mentors, friends, and connections will begin to show up. People who speak life, who push her higher, who believe in the vision. Sign 9, when she feels unexplainable peace, even when the circumstances haven't changed, something in her spirit knows it's going to be all right. That peace is the signature of God saying, I'm in this. I'm working behind the scene. Sign 10, when gratitude becomes her weapon, when she starts thanking God in advance before she sees the blessing, she is preparing the ground for the miracle. Greater attracts the blessing closer because it proves she trusts God's timing. My friends, if she's been seeing these signs, she is on the verge of something extraordinary. This is not the time to quit, not the time to shrink back, not the time to doubt. This is the time to lean in, to praise louder, to believe bigger, to prepare like the blessing is already at the door. So here's the challenge. Stop letting fear tell the story of her future. Speak life, walk by faith, forgive freely, and stand tall. Her blessing is not coming, her blessing is here. Step into it. Receive it. Live like it's already done. When life begins to feel like everything is closing in, when the weight of circumstances presses down so hard that it feels almost unbearable, that is often the exact season when God is getting ready to elevate her. Pressure is not a punishment. It is preparation. When she feels pressed on every side, that is God building her capacity, stretching her faith, enlarging her vision so she can hold the blessing He is about to pour out. Think of how a seed must first be buried in the dark soil, pressed beneath the weight of the earth before it ever breaks through to the surface and blooms. The pressing is what activates what is hidden inside. She may feel like she is in a dark place, but even there God is working. He is molding her character, sharpening her discernment, teaching her to trust Him when she cannot see the outcome. Pressure exposes what is weak and strengthens what must endure. When she is under pressure, she starts to see who is truly with her, who speaks life into her, and who cannot handle the weight of where she is going. It is in those moments that she learns how to stand even when others walk away. The pressing forces her to stop leaning on her own strength and start drawing from a deeper well, depend on grace instead of willpower. It shifts her prayer life from shallow requests to desperate cries, and those desperate cries shake heaven. There is something powerful about the way God uses pressure to purify motives, to strip away what was never meant to be part of her next season, to cut away distractions so that her focus is fixed on what truly mattered. Pressure builds strength that comfort never could. Muscles do not grow without resistance. Faith does not grow without opposition. And character does not grow without challenge. The very weight she wishes would be lifted is the same weight that is shaping her for her next level. When everything feels heavy, it means she is being trained to carry something bigger. When isolation becomes divine preparation, God cannot place a great blessing in weak hands. He must first strengthen those hands through the weight of responsibility, the burden of waiting, the H of perseverance. And though she may feel like she is breaking, what is actually happening is that she is being remade. The old version of her cannot hold the blessing of the new season. So God applies the pressure to transform her. In the midst of that pressure, emotions can run high. Doubt can creep in. She might question if she is strong enough, if she heard God right, if she missed her moment. But that questioning itself is part of a process. It forces her to choose faith over fear, to anchor herself in hope when everything around her screams defeat. This is where resilience is born, where persistence is refined, where courage becomes second nature. She discovers that she is tougher than she thought, braver than she imagined, stronger than anyone gave her credit for. And that strength will carry her when she steps into the blessing, because with blessing comes new challenges, new responsibilities, and new levels of faith required to sustain it. Pressure also reveals hidden potential. Just as grapes must be crushed to release wine, sometimes her greatest anointing, her deepest wisdom, her most powerful testimony can only be released when life squeezes her. The very pain she wishes she could escape is producing purpose that will bless not just her life, but others connected to her. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater, and the longer the season of pressing, the greater the oil that flows from it. God is not trying to destroy her. He is trying to draw out what He planted inside her from the very beginning. So when she finds herself in a season where the phone stops ringing, invitations dry up, and the people she thought would always be there suddenly feel distant, it can feel confusing and even painful. Isolation has a way of making her question everything about her life, her value, her purpose, her direction. But isolation is often the very tool God uses to separate her from the noise so she can hear His voice clearly. When there are too many voices in her ear, she can become distracted by opinions, weighed down by expectations, and influenced by the wrong counsel. In isolation, God strips away the opinions of others and leaves her with the only voice that truly matters. In that quiet place, she learns things she could never learn. Surrounded by a crowd, she discovers who she really is apart from titles, applause, and the validation of others. Isolation teaches her to be content with God's presence alone, to find joy in the secret place, and to stop depending on external affirmation to feel worthy. That kind of growth only happens when there are no spotlights, no applause, no audience, just her and God. In those moments, the roots of her faith grow deeper because she is no longer performing for anyone else's approval. She is living to please the one who called her. Sometimes God allows isolation to protect her from relationships that cannot go where she is going. The next season of her life might require her to walk with people who are aligned with her purpose, not just familiar with her past. So He removes her from certain circles, certain environments, certain routines, because staying there would limit her growth. It can feel like loss at first, but it is really divine protection. Isolation is not about punishing her. It is about positioning her. It is God pulling her aside to whisper secrets, to download new vision, to refine her character so she can handle the weight of the blessing He is about to release. During isolation, her prayers become more honest, her worship becomes more real, and her faith becomes more personal. She begins to talk to God not out of habit, but out of hunger. She learns to hear His whisper in ways she never noticed before because the background noise has been silenced. Her spiritual senses sharpen, her discernment increases, and she, when resistance reveals her power, becomes more sensitive to what is of God and what is not. Isolation is where she learns to trust God in the unseen, to walk by faith and not by sight because there is no one else to lean on but Him. Isolation is also where she confronts herself. When there are no distractions, she is forced to deal with the pain, the wounds, the fears she has been carrying for years. God uses that time to heal her, to break off old mindsets, to uproot lies she has believed about herself and to replace them with truth. He strengthens her identity, reminding her who she is and who she is. So when she steps back into the world, she does not lose herself in the noise. It is in isolation that she learns to rest. Instead of rushing to keep up with everyone else, she slows down enough to let God restore her soul. He teaches her that her worth is not in her performance, but in her relationship with Him. And when that lesson sinks deep, she walks into the next season with a confidence that does not come from titles or validation, but from knowing she is chosen, set apart, and prepared. Though the season of isolation can feel lonely, it is never empty. Heaven is at work behind the scenes, aligning the right opportunities, moving the wrong people out of the way, preparing the path ahead. What looks like a pause is really a process shaping her heart for what is coming next and creating space for God to do something fresh and new within her. When she begins to notice that people no longer see her the same way, when her motives are questioned, when those she thought understood or suddenly pull back or criticize her, it can feel like betrayal, but it is actually an indicator that something in her spirit is shifting. Resistance and misunderstanding often show up right before breakthrough because the next season of her life cannot be built on the approval of others. God allows these moments to free her from the need to be accepted by everyone, because if she depends too much on applause, she will hesitate when obedience requires her to stand alone. Being misunderstood forces her to seek validation in the right place. It drives her closer to God and teaches her that her identity cannot be rooted in people's opinions, but in the one who knows her fully. This season reveals who truly supports her and who was only comfortable with her as long as she stayed the same. Growth will always make some people uncomfortable because when she starts to think differently, dream bigger, and walk by faith, it confronts others who are still stuck in the same place. They may label her as arrogant, distant, or changed, but what they are really seeing is transformation. God is elevating her mindset, expanding her capacity, and preparing her for something greater, and not everyone will be able to come along for the journey. Their misunderstanding is not a sign that she is wrong. It is a sign that she is being set apart. Being misunderstood can also feel like rejection, but rejection is often redirection. God removes certain voices from her life so they do not talk her out of what He is calling her into. When everyone agrees with her, when no one challenges or opposes her and they feel comfortable, but it can also keep her stagnant. The tension of being misunderstood sharpens her clarity because it forces her to know exactly why she is doing what she is doing. She learns to stop explaining herself to everyone and starts trusting that God will vindicate her when the time is right. Misunderstanding teaches her how to rely on divine timing instead of rushing to prove herself. She learns to wait patiently as God unfolds the plan, even when it feels like others are whispering about her. It teaches her humility because she realizes she does not need to win every argument or convince every critic. She simply needs to remain faithful. And while it hurts to be misjudged, it also strengthens her resilience because she discovers that she can keep going even when the crowd doesn't cheer. This process matures her spiritually. Instead of seeking validation from the wrong places, she seeks wisdom and counsel from God's Word. She starts journaling, praying, meditating, and asking God to purify her heart so she can respond with grace instead of bitterness. She learns to bless those who speak against her, to forgive those who misunderstand her, and when doors of favor suddenly open, to stay focused on the bigger picture. The more she does this, the more unshakable she becomes because her sense of worth is no longer fragile. Being misunderstood also creates space for God to reveal new allies, people who understand her not because of where she came from, but because of where she is going. The right people will see her growth as inspiration, not as a threat. They will encourage her, support her, and speak life over her calling. But she would never recognize them if she didn't first walk through the season where she experienced misunderstanding from others. This phase teaches her that her destiny is not up for debate. Not everyone needs to approve it. Not everyone needs to understand it. And not everyone will celebrate it. But the very resistance she feels is confirmation that she is moving in the right direction. God uses that resistance to toughen her spirit, to build spiritual grit, to prepare her to stand strong when she steps into her new season. Because with greater blessing comes greater visibility, and with greater visibility comes greater criticism. When doors of favor start opening that she never even knocked on, when opportunities begin to come from directions she never expected, it is a sign that something divine is taking place behind the scenes. These moments often catch her off guard because she did not plan for them, did not strive for them, and sometimes even feels unprepared for them. Yet, that is exactly what makes them so powerful. They are reminders that God's favor cannot be earned. It can only be received. When He decides it is her time, He will orchestrate events in such a way that no person can take credit for what is happening. Suddenly, things that were once difficult become smooth. Obstacles that once blocked her path are removed, and situations that once felt impossible begin to shift in her favor. This kind of favor is not the result of luck or coincidence. It is a direct response to her faithfulness, her endurance, and her willingness to trust the process even when it was painful. It is as though the heavens open up and say, "No, now is the time for her to step into what she was created for. Now is the time for her to see the harvest from the seed she has sown in prayer and service and perseverance." Favor causes her to be in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, walking through the right opportunities, and it becomes so evident that she cannot help but look back and say, "Only God could have done this." When favor begins to flow, she will notice that her efforts are suddenly multiplied. The work she used to do that once yielded little fruit now begins to produce more than she imagined. The same energy she once gave now creates double the results. This is because favor accelerates what hard work alone cannot accomplish. It redeems the time she thought was lost. It brings restoration in areas she thought would never recover. And it turns delays into divine setups for something better than she expected. Favor also attracts people who are assigned to help her reach the next level. These are not just random connections. They are destiny helpers. People who see her potential, who are moved to support her vision, who open doors she could never open by herself. They may recommend her name in rooms she has never entered, speak well of her when she is not present, or offer opportunities that position her for growth. These are divine appointments that align perfectly with the season she is stepping into. It is important to recognize that favor does not always make sense to others. Some may wonder why she was chosen, why the opportunity came to her and not someone else, why things suddenly started working in her life. But favor is not about fairness. It is about faithfulness. She may have gone when gratitude unlocks greater blessings unnoticed for years, but in this season she becomes visible. God shines a light on her gifts, her character, her potential, and the world begins to take notice. This season of favor also teaches her to stay humble. When doors open easily, it can be tempting to think she made it happen by her own strength. But favor reminds her that every open door is a gift, not a guarantee. It keeps her dependent on the one who opened the door in the first place. It teaches her to steward opportunities well, to walk with integrity, to treat every blessing as a responsibility as well as a privilege. As favor flows, she may also find that what once felt like competition no longer matters because she begins to realize that no one can block what God has assigned to her. The right opportunities will not pass her by, and she does not have to force what is meant for her. This understanding frees her from comparison, from striving, from the need to prove herself. Instead, she walks with a quiet confidence, knowing that favor is her portion and that she is stepping into a season where things will align in ways she could never have arranged on her own. When she begins to thank God in advance, even before the breakthrough has shown up, even while she is still in the middle of the storm, she is stepping into a dimension of faith that unlocks extraordinary blessing. Gratitude in difficult seasons is not natural, it is supernatural. It is an act of defiance against fear and doubt. When she says, "Thank you," before the answer arrives, she is declaring that she believes God is faithful, that she trusts His character more than her circumstances, that she knows He is working even when she cannot see it. This kind of gratitude has power because it shifts her focus from what is missing to what is possible. It lifts her eyes from the problem to the promise. Gratitude is a seed. Every time she gives thanks, she is planting something in the ground of her spirit that will produce a harvest in the future. And what is remarkable is that this harvest does not just affect her. It impacts everyone connected to her. Her gratitude becomes a testimony that encourages others, reminding them that faith is not just about asking, but also about praising in advance. When she chooses gratitude, she refuses to let her emotions control her. She stops waiting for everything to be perfect to rejoice, and instead rejoices her way into the blessing. This posture of gratitude also brings peace. The moment she begins to thank God, her heart begins to quiet down. The anxiety starts to lift and hope starts to rise again. Gratitude has the ability to shift the atmosphere of her mind and her home. Even when the storm is raging on the outside, gratitude allows her to carry calm on the inside. She starts to see her situation differently because gratitude opens her eyes to the ways God is already moving. Instead of obsessing over what she has lost, she becomes aware of what she still has. Instead of complaining about how long the process is taking, she begins to thank God that the process is shaping her into someone stronger, wiser, and more ready to receive what is coming. Gratitude also unlocks creativity and solutions. When she stops complaining, she clears mental space to hear new ideas, new strategies, and new ways forward. Complaining closes doors because it focuses on the problem, but gratitude opens them because it magnifies possibility. The more she thanks God, the more she becomes sensitive to opportunities she might have missed before. She starts to recognize blessings in disguise, divine connections she might have overlooked, and resources that were already around her but hidden by discouragement. Living with gratitude in advance also strengthens her resilience. Life's challenges no longer have the power to crush her spirit because she has decided to find something to thank God for in every situation. Even in her most difficult moments, she looks for when peace becomes her confirmation reasons to be thankful. Whether it's for the lessons she's learning, the strength she's gaining, or the fact that she is still standing despite the struggle, gratitude turns her pain into a testimony, her tears into prayers, and her waiting into worship. Gratitude attracts favor because it proves she is ready to handle more. When she is faithful with little, when she thanks God for what seems small, she positions herself to be entrusted with bigger blessings. It is not just about saying thank you once. It is about cultivating a lifestyle of gratitude where she wakes up thankful, speaks with thankfulness, and carries a grateful heart even when challenges come her way. That kind of heart posture becomes magnetic for miracles. She begins to see that gratitude is not just a response to blessing. It is a weapon. It silences the enemy because he thrives on fear, doubt, and negativity, but he cannot stand a woman who praises in advance. Gratitude fills her with joy, and joy gives her strength to keep going. It reminds her that she is not defeated, that her story is still unfolding, that what she is believing for is already on the way. When she feels a calm rising up inside of her that cannot be explained by what is happening around her, it is a sign that something spiritual is taking place. This peace is not the result of everything being perfect. It is the result of trusting that God is in control. It is the kind of peace that does not make sense. The kind that shows up when bills are unpaid, relationships are strained, and the future is uncertain. Yet she somehow knows deep down that everything is going to work out. This unshakable calm is not passive, it is powerful. It guards her heart and mind from fear. It silences the noise of worry, and it allows her to stay focused on what she can do instead of being consumed by what she cannot control. This kind of peace is not found in temporary solutions or quick fixes. It comes from learning how to rest in God's promises. It is developed in prayer, in worship, in moments of surrender where she stops striving to make everything happen on her own. Peace begins to fill her when she lays down her timeline, her plans, her fears, and hands them over to the one who knows the end from the beginning. It is in that surrender that her spirit becomes settled. She no longer feels the constant need to rush, to prove, to worry about what others think, because she understands that her steps are ordered. When she carries this peace, it changes how she shows up in the world. She becomes less reactive and more discerning. Instead of panicking at every challenge, she takes time to pause, to breathe, to pray, to wait for clarity. That pause allows her to make wiser choices and to avoid decisions driven by fear. Her peace becomes her protection, guiding her away from situations that are not for her and helping her recognize the opportunities that are. Peace is also contagious. When she walks into a room carrying peace, it shifts the atmosphere. Others may feel anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed, but her presence becomes a source of final words of encouragement, calm. People start asking how she can stay so grounded when everything seems chaotic, and that opens the door for her to share where her peace comes from. In this way, her peace becomes a testimony pointing others to the strength that sustains her. This unexplainable calm also strengthens her confidence. When she knows God is in control, she stops fearing the unknown. She becomes bold enough to take risks, to step out of her comfort zone, to pursue what she feels called to do, because she knows that even if things don't go as planned, she will still be okay. Peace becomes her anchor, keeping her steady when life tries to shake her. Peace also plays a crucial role in protecting her health mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Stress and worry can weigh her down, drain her energy, and cloud her judgment, but peace restores her mind and body. It allows her to sleep better, think clearer, and handle challenges with grace instead of exhaustion. She starts to realize that peace is not just a feeling, it is a strategy for living well, for making decisions that lead her closer to her purpose, for staying aligned with what truly matters. When she experiences this deep peace, she begins to notice that she does not need to force open doors or fight unnecessary battles. She learns that what is meant for her will come to her, and what is not meant for her will fall away. This frees her from the exhausting need to control outcomes, letting her focus on preparation instead of desperation. She walks with quiet confidence, knowing that timing will align when it is supposed to. This peace becomes her confirmation that she is on the right path. Even when the circumstances do not look like what she imagined, the calm in her spirit reassures her that she is exactly where she needs to be. She does not have closing thoughts. Her blessing is closer than ever to have all the answers. She just has to keep moving forward step by step, because the peace she carries is proof that God's hand is guiding her every step of the